The timing and intention of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan has raised red flags in Taiwan. People have questioned why she wanted to break a status quo that had been in place for so long. They also ponder what really motivated her to make this trip, lobbied by the ruling Democratic Progressive Party in Taiwan, or DPP. Meanwhile, China has now released a white paper outlining what a peaceful reunification could look like. It suggests that a one country, two systems model would be appropriate to accommodate the different social systems and realities in both places. Earlier, I spoke with Dr. Huang Chih-Hsien, a famous Taiwan TV commentator, to get her take on Pelosi's visit.
这个从美国 从他个人，从台湾。
There were strong incentives for her to do so from the perspectives of the U.S., Taiwan, and her personally. She originally intended to visit Taiwan in April, but didn't make it because she tested positive for COVID-19. Of course, it is Taiwan who initiated the idea. When the Kuomintang was in power, Taiwan had already deployed a lot of resources to lobbying in the United States, especially targeting the U.S. Congress. If you want to lobby a congressman, you have to take care of his constituency as well as his sponsors. So we used to hear in Taiwan about lobbying the congressman and how Taiwan can cooperate with the business that their sponsors are doing. So the congressmen and Taiwan are establishing ties, such as the so-called Congressional Taiwan Caucus. Especially Pelosi herself would be expected to step down after this year's midterm election and will no longer be the Speaker of the House. It's difficult now for the Democratic Party to secure the simple majority. But no matter what, the party will not place her as the Speaker of the House given her current situation. So her trip to Asia this time is the graduation ceremony, the last time to visit Asia as the third highest ranking official of the United States. But even if she visits Asia as the third highest ranking U.S. official, who cares? No one cares. This is a very boring visit.
美国第三号人物访问亚洲 ，Who cares? 没有人在乎啊，那就是一个非常 boring、非常无聊。
People read the newspaper and see who's visiting where, and then they just turn the page. When the Financial Times said that she was coming to Taiwan, the whole thing blew up. She suddenly went from a soon-to-be out-of-date political figure in her 80s to the queen with global attention, followed by so many media and observers. Even her plane was tracked on website by over 500,000 people in Singapore, Malaysia, and Taiwan. The website was overwhelmed. And she personally enjoys fame as a political figure and tends to perform to capture the limelight. She would feel uneasy if reporters' cameras were not on her.
Camera 如果没有对着我，我就会觉得惶惶不可终日。所以她个人是得到一切。
So she gets everything without any losses. It doesn't bother her anymore after she stepped down, no matter how angry China is. She does not have to pay any price. It's the people of Taiwan who suffer. In addition, from the perspective of the United States, the White House said at the beginning that they have little say in her decision. And the military said it was not a good idea right now. These are all lies. Because there will be no good timing for Pelosi to come to Taiwan. Any time is not a good time. The only good timing is when Pelosi applied to Beijing for visiting Taiwan. Why? You might say, Huang Chih-Hsien, you're too arrogant. Why should the Speaker of the House of Representatives of the United States hand in the application forms to Beijing for visiting to Taiwan? Because the One China principle is clearly stated in the 3 China-U.S. joint communiques. Taiwan is a Chinese territory. It's a simple fact. So if you want to come to Taiwan, please submit an application form to Beijing. You can come with Beijing's permission. The White House is playing tricks and say it is out of my hands. It's absolutely laughable. How can the U.S. sign agreements and communicates with other countries if it only works for its executive branch? If the U.S. Congress or members and speakers of House don't abide by the contents, who will sign anything with the U.S.? So the argument of the United States is in total violation of international law. It's as simple as that. Taiwan says it's innocent and has intended to withdraw the invitation, but Pelosi called back to scold. This is also a lie, because Taiwan could not have withdrawn the invitation, and Pelosi did not have to call. Taiwan doesn't have the guts to withdraw the invitation.
所以现在美国还有没有信誉？就是说，美国它可以和一个国家签一个协议，或者说做出一个很郑重的承诺，但是呢，它会以这个三权分立的这个说法来说，好，我政府跟你签了，但是我的议员或者我的这个司法系统，是三权分立的，所以我可以不尊重这个所谓的承诺，这个所谓的国际承诺或者国际法。那这样的话，天下就乱套了。美国这个逻辑能不能成立？
理论上是不能够成立的。
Theoretically, the logic cannot be valid. Otherwise, what should be the bottom line of country-to-country interaction in the world? Every country should abide by international law. But the cruel reality is that the United States has never abided by it. For example, the United States and China are supposed to trade under the framework of the WTO because any trade in the world should be carried out under the framework of WTO. So if there's a dispute between the two countries, for example, if I do business with you, and we have a little dispute, we should pursue mediation under a common institutional framework, the WTO, for example, based on the procedures and rules. The U.S. doesn't want to do that because it knows that the so-called disputes within a fair framework of WTO, it will be in the wrong. So, the U.S. does not care about others at all. It smears China and unilaterally imposes sanctions on China. For example, it unilaterally sanctioned Chinese semiconductor companies, and it used Xinjiang as an excuse to impose a series of sanctions on China. These sanctions do not make any sense. It wielded the infamous washing powder as evidence of weapons of mass destruction being developed in Iraq. And then it launched a war, destroyed the country, and occupied its reserves of oil.
台湾当地的人，或者说台北当地的人，对佩洛西议长的窜访是什么样的一个态度？
台湾有几种人，一种是
There are several kinds of people in Taiwan. For those who support the DPP and Taiwan independence, of course, they believe this is a carnival for Taiwan independence advocates. There are two kinds of supporters of Taiwan's Kuomintang party. Some people, like Julie Luan, who believe that the relationship between Taiwan and the U.S. is getting better and better. So American friends have arrived. They are very grateful to Pelosi's visit. Taipei 101 skyscraper displayed messages welcoming Pelosi to Taiwan. Another kind of supporters of the Kuomintang, they began to reflect on this matter. They questioned why Pelosi came to Taiwan. We made friends with the U.S. within a reasonable range, but Pelosi has crossed the line, and we're not happy with that. This is what these people think. But these people are reluctant to express their opinions. Under the current circumstance in Taiwan, these people are unhappy, but they think that it's meaningless to express their views. The media is just like this. Kuomintang is just like this. DPP is just like this. Most people in Taiwan have no feelings. Although they are unhappy about what happened, they feel helpless and frustrated. Can you understand that kind of feeling? After the extreme helplessness, these people believe it's meaningless to react with emotions. Not everyone who supports reunification will stand up and express their anger. When I knew that a group of people would go to protest, those are my old friends, but I didn't contact them either. Then I went there. Why? Because I was really unhappy. I was really angry. So even with the death of my father, I was determined to express my anger. I knew it won't change anything, but I had to express my anger. I must say, even if there's only one person angry in Taiwan, I will express my anger. She is in no condition to visit. So when I was there and I had some harsh words, Pelosi is not qualified to visit. Pelosi should get out and go back to the U.S. It is very simple. Is it worth to make such a fuss about an 82-year-old woman's visit to Taiwan? No, she's not qualified. That's it. You come to my home without my permission. You infringe on my home. That is trespassing and setting foot in my house. This is the biggest insult, humiliation, and disrespect. I didn't give you the permission to come. Who is this I? It is China. Taiwan is my home. You have no permission to come. It is an infringement. Pelosi didn't say she supports Taiwan independence, but her actions convey that. The supporters of Taiwan independence are the enemies of China and the Chinese people.
好，谢谢黄博士。